Would you believe me if I told you that the College Football Playoff Committee actually got the rankings mostly correct? You already know what time it is. Welcome back into the NFL with AJL, episode 126. Plenty of sports podcasts out there, but you chose to be tapped in right here on the full show, and we are forever grateful for that. I know we've been gone for a few weeks. I had a vacation, celebrated Halloween, celebrated my 28th birthday, celebrated 8 beautiful years with my lady. We've been engaged a little over a year now, took our dogs to the beach, just had a nice time to take the time off to reset, enjoy those things, and get back into the show, get back into the NFL, get back into college football for you guys. That's why we've been gone for a little bit. Content's been a little light. If you were keeping up with my Instagram story, you knew exactly what was going on, but I hope you guys have been blessed since the last time we've been together here on the show. You already know what to do. Please make sure to like and share wherever you're watching or listening. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that bell so you never miss a post at NFL with AJL on all social media platforms and on podcast platforms as well. Make sure to get at us on social media, follow, engage, do all the things that you do. And I promise if you cannot find us, you're simply not looking hard enough. We got a packed episode 126 as we are fresh off of the NFL trade deadline, the first college football playoff rankings, and a great NFL week and a college football week as well. Get in the comments and let me know what you're most excited to hear about as we dive into episode 126. So we're going to start with the NFL trade deadline right off the top here as the New Orleans Saints trade Rashid Shaheed to the Seattle Seahawks for a 2026 fourth and fifth round pick. And I had a feeling that this was going to happen for the Saints. I really hated to see Rashid Shaheed go, but you can kind of feel it as the trade deadline approaches. You see some of these stories that seem they have a little more credibility than others, and you really just see them cycling through the news. And it definitely felt like Rashid Shaheed was going to get out of town. Great pickup for the Seattle Seahawks. They're clearly rolling right now. They're an NFC contender. They're looking to get to the Super Bowl. JSN, Rashid Shaheed, obviously Cooper Kupp injured. Sam Darnold's doing great things with that offense. And Clint Kubiak had Rashid Shaheed in his offense last year when he was the OC for the New Orleans Saints. Rashid had 4 80-yard games with Clint Kubiak last year. Then I hated to see this happen for the Saints because I really love Rashid Shaheed. We know that he is one of the best deep ball catchers and really players in the National Football League next to Tyreek Hill. He has the longest average scrimmage yards on his touchdowns at almost 48, speaking of Rashid Shaheed. And we saw what he did for the Saints. Like, the Saints absolutely hit on him, undrafted free agent. But the fact that you're able to turn him around, get a fourth and a fifth round pick is absolutely phenomenal for a guy who went from undrafted free agent to all pro. Now, it was an all pro punt returner, but Rashid Shaheed was looking phenomenal for the Saints while he was with them. Yes, he had the injury last year, but this year Rashid Shaheed was looking solid, and you could see the comfortability from Spencer Rattler, from Tyler Shough. Unfortunately, he only had, a game and a half to really throw to Rashid Shaheed. I would give this grade probably a B, if not an A for the Saints, because again, you hit on an undrafted free agent who does wonders for your team in the wide receiver room, and then you turn that into a fourth and fifth round pick. And I'm going to give this one an A for the Seattle Seahawks. They add to a receiver room that really needs to be, loved on with the injury to Cooper Kupp, and they're pushing in the NFC. So also with Clint Kubiak as well being over there in Seattle. So I think it's just a great marriage for Rashid Shaheed to get over there. I truly do hate the optics of it, though, because the Seattle Seahawks absolutely belt to ass the Saints early this year. And then you go and give your player to the Seattle Seahawks. You don't give them, but of course you trade them. Next one here, the Saints deal Trevor Penning to the LA Chargers for a 2027 sixth-round pick. And respectfully, good riddance, Trevor Penning. We know the inconsistency that Trevor Penning had. He was far too aggressive. The penalties that he would cause at really inconvenient moments of the game. I mean, even dead ball fouls, holding. He was too aggressive at the line. His footwork was never the cleanest. And you had him jump from tackle to tackle. Then he goes to be a guard. And then he's shipped out to the LA Chargers. Unfortunately for the Saints, this is probably going to be a C to a D grade because Trevor Penning was a first-round pick I actually remember being excited about Trevor Penning stupidly, but he was one of the higher rated tackles in the draft. Yes, still a little bit of a project, like some college players are, right? But he just never was really that solid piece for us on the New Orleans Saints line. Always needed help, always had to have a chip block or some sort of extra blocker slide in to help him with his assignment. And for the Chargers, this is a big pickup. I don't know how much of a great grade this is, but when you're missing Joe Alt, who's a beast, when you're missing Rashawn Slater, who's a beast, that is going to affect your offensive line. We've seen Justin Herbert absolutely being pressured out of his mind this year and really just having to do the best he can with that offensive line over in LA. So I was very happy that the Saints were able to get rid of Trevor Penning. And here we are again, the New Orleans Saints, another trade deadline, another two marquee players that are shipped off. I would have liked to see Chris Olave. I would have liked to see Alvin Kamara. I would have liked to see Demario Davis. Any player that you could get value for, you had to ship them off, because you only had 5 draft picks walking into the deadline yesterday, and now you are sitting with 8 and potentially more as the season can go on. Like, who knows how the Saints could continue to stockpile draft picks. But I was very happy to see the Saints move on from this guy because he was just never really that much of a providing factor. But again, last year, Marshawn Lattimore, good player, shipped out at the deadline. This year, 2 players, one good, one shipped out at the deadline. Would have liked to see more. So we're seeing that the Saints are starting to accept more and more that they are in a rebuild. Now, next year, it's got to be 3 players. Like, it's got to be 5 players if it permits for a fire sale, for a wholesale clean out of the New Orleans Saints roster. Maybe the biggest trade of the deadline, the New York Jets deal their best player in Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts, who are an absolute contender right now in the NFL, for 2, count them, 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell. Not really worried so much about the A.D. Mitchell trade. Like, yes, he is a decent receiver, but the fact that they got 2 firsts and a player for one in Sauce Gardner, it just goes to show you how valued the cornerback position is in the NFL. If you have a lockdown corner, you're going to be solid in the defensive, like, secondary. Maybe not on all aspects, but you know, that side of the field, that wide receiver one that Sauce was always matched up with, he was going to do his job. And now the Indianapolis Colts, who need some secondary help, now you got Sauce. Charvarius Ward's going to be coming back, who's a top corner. Like, you're going to have some nice marriage in that secondary between these 2 players, because Sauce Gardner is one of the best corners in the NFL. I mean, we saw him as a rookie. He was arguably the best corner in football. For the Jets, I'm going to give them an A+. Getting 2 first-rounders out of your former first-round pick, and then you get a player as well. And for the Colts, I'll probably give them an A too. Like, yes, 2 first-rounders, but I think Sauce was worth it. 2 first-rounders is still a little steep for me, but clearly they're showing, like, hey, we're in it to win now. You know, we're 7-1, or I think 2 losses now, yes, after losing, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it's like, they're all in. The Colts realize they are not paying Daniel Jones a lot of money right now. They have a top offense in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the NFL right now, MVP candidate. And you're at the top of the AFC. Like, the Colts are going all in for a Super Bowl push, and I love to see it. The Jets also had a fire sale, kind of like the Saints did, as they deal Quinnen Williams to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 second, a 2027 first, and Mozzie Smith. The Jets have literally stockpiled 3 first-round picks on the day of the NFL trade deadline, a 2027 first, actually 2 2027 first, and then a 2026 first. I believe the New York Jets have 5 first-round picks in the next 2 to 3 NFL drafts. That's absolutely crazy. Like, we're going to have to keep our eyes on the New York Jets to see if they can draft well, get their franchise quarterback in, really understand if this rebuild can be pulled completely off. I think it's a solid deal for the Jets to deal Quinnen Williams to get some picks back for him. They do also get Mozzie Smith, because when you go look at Quinnen Williams in the NFL right now, 3rd overall pick in the 2019 draft, Pro Bowl selection from 21, 22, 23. He's got 40 sacks on his career. He's also reuniting with the current Cowboys defensive line coach and Aaron Whitecotton, who was actually with the Jets at the time when Quinnen Williams was there. Quinnen also leads all defensive linemen with a 9.5% run stop percentage this season, and his 40 sacks since entering the NFL in 2019 rank 5th among primary defensive tackles, behind Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, who's obviously retired, DeForest Buckner, who's a monster, and Cameron Hayward. So he is up there with one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. And now the Cowboys get to pick him up. And now the Cowboys get the opportunity to fix the defense that has been looking rough for them really for a good bit of the season. And you're able to see now that Quinnen Williams will help them in that aspect. I think the Jets getting this haul back for Quinnen Williams, I'll give them an A as well. I think this is a little steep for the Cowboys to send out. So I'll give them about a C plus, a B minus on this grade. But when you look at it, the Cowboys essentially traded Micah Parsons and Mozzie Smith for Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, great defensive tackle duo with Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams, and to move up about 15 to 20 spots in the back of the first round of the 2026 draft, but really no extra picks out of it. Or another way you can spin it is the Cowboys have basically traded Micah Parsons and a second and Mozzie Smith for Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, and a first. Kind of an even trade-off. Like, obviously, Quinnen is not Micah. I think Kenny is comparable to Mozzie Smith, if not better, and you trade a second to pick up a first. So be it. Like, you had some picks move around, but overall, I think this is going to be solid for both sides of the ball. The Cowboys also turned around and landed Logan Wilson from the Bengals for a 7th rounder, which Logan Wilson's been a captain on that defense. We know the Bengals have been giving up a ton of points. We knew that the Bengals defense was not going to be solid this year after all the money that they were spending between the 3 players and potentially having to pay Trey Hendrickson. The Cowboys need a linebacker that can step in, stuff the holes in the offensive and defensive line, in the trenches, and just really make plays. And Jerry Jones came out and said that. Maybe one of the better things he said recently is he can jump in and provide an immediate value for the Dallas Cowboys defense. And the Bengals get a pick out of the guy. Like, this, again, was a captain on the Bengals defense for 5-6 seasons, a cornerstone guy who they very much respected and was a very solid linebacker as you were seeing his leadership skills, the way he was able to make plays. So the Cowboys ended up getting a decent one there. And the last haul here for the 2025 NFL trade deadline is the Eagles landed Jaire Alexander, Michael Carter II, and Jalen Phillips from the Ravens, Jets, and Dolphins, respectively. They traded a 6th for Jaire and a 7th. Not horrible. You traded Mechie and John Mechie and a 6th rounder to get Michael Carter II and a 7th rounder. And then you traded a 3rd rounder for Jalen Phillips. I think these across the board, like the Michael Carter II trade, I don't know if he's going to plug in much. Obviously, the Eagles have been struggling in the secondary a little bit. They're looking to get Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, right those wrongs in that secondary. But when you look at Jaire Alexander, who has been an all-pro, Pro Bowl corner, yes, he's been a little questionable the last couple of years, but watching him go from Green Bay to the Ravens, and a lot of people are saying this is not a solid trade, but people don't understand that when you become a defensive player for the Philadelphia Eagles under Vic Fangio, you're turned into a completely different guy. And that's what makes me so scared about this trade. Like, not scared, but like, damn, they really pulled one off. Jaire Alexander in the secondary. Jalen Phillips was one of the better defensive tackles in the NFL draft a few years ago when he was taken, I believe it was 2021, out of Miami. Vic Fangio is going to get the absolute most out of Jalen Phillips. I have no question about it. And I think the Eagles are going to unlock a new version of Jalen Phillips out of Miami. Jalen Phillips, Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham just came back. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. Like, we know what the Philadelphia Eagles are packing on that front 7. And I think the biggest addition clearly is Jalen Phillips and Jaire Alexander. I think these guys are going to become very key pieces in this Eagles defense sooner rather than later. And just to show you how much of an absolute monster Howie Roseman is, again, I think Howie Roseman is arguably the best general manager in the history of sports. Now, I'm only 28, so I'm showing my age and my bias, but what this guy is able to do, like, he just clearly gets it at a higher level than really any other general manager in football, if you ask me. Here's really the net result of the 9 trades Howie Roseman made since the start of training camp. Hoping that this is pretty accurate when you dig through it. Shout out to, I should have got the Twitter handle who provided this information, but it was a great tweet. So in comes Jalen Phillips, Jaire Alexander, Michael Carter II, Tank Bigsby, Fred Johnson. You could just stop there, but we'll keep going. Sam Howell, Jacorian Bennett, and 2 7th rounders for 2027 came in. You dish out Darian Kennard, who, Harrison Bryant, who, Thomas Booker, who, John Mechie, who also came in, but then they shipped him back out. Eagles fans, I'm sure y'all are going to roast me for saying who on those few players. I don't keep up with y'all like that, but I'm fairly tapped in. You also shipped out a 2026 3rd 5th, 5th, 6th, 6th, and 7th, and then a 2027 6th and 7th. That slew of picks feels like a lot, but when you look on the other side, there are some 7s that came back, so those two kind of cancel out. But Jalen, Jair, Michael Carter, Tank Bigsby, Fred Johnson, like that is an absolute haul to be able to get those players for your team. Now we'll have to see what Jair, what Jalen Phillips turns out to, but I think Tank, Fred, Jair, and Jalen are those 4 best pickups, and Howie Roseman is just on an absolute tear. I mean, this guy is a monster. What can he not do in the National Football League when it comes to building a roster? Because I really think that we're waiting to see that. Would you believe me if I told you that the College Football Playoff Committee actually got the rankings mostly correct? And this is coming from a guy who griped and complained week after week about the college football playoff rankings last year when the first 12-team format dropped. I remember how they were overpumping Miami like crazy and undervaluing Georgia like crazy. And yeah, bias is coming out. Y'all know I'm a Georgia fan, but those were just the 2 best examples of last year as to how the CFP really didn't get it right. And now you come in to the first week of the college football playoff rankings. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5. No problem with that. I'm not going to read off the whole list because I don't have any problems besides 3 teams. You're telling me Notre Dame, who lost their 2 best games of the season, the 2, toughest games that they had to play, and now that they've went on a 6-game win streak with no really reputable competition outside of USC, who they only beat by 10, 3 of the 6 wins are convincing. Only 1 of those is against a ranked team. I sat here in week 1 or 2 with either JT or Marcus and said, it's going to be funny how the committee tries to convince us that Notre Dame is a top 12 team. And I'll be damned if they didn't do it. I'll be damned if they didn't do it. Because you're telling me that Notre Dame is a better team right now than the way Texas has been playing, than the way Oklahoma has been playing. I could even argue that Georgia Tech is a better team than Notre Dame. Yes, Georgia Tech just lost to NC State. But the way that Georgia Tech has been playing, Heisman favorite Haynes King should be anyways. Heisman candidate at the very least. The way that this offense is playing, the way that Brent Key actually has the Yellow Jackets performing at a 7-1 record, and you think that Notre Dame is 7 spots better than Georgia Tech. Notre Dame's 6-2. Georgia Tech's 8-1 and has looked way more dominant over the season than Notre Dame has. I also have a problem with Miami at number 18. I know Miami has not looked solid over the last month, dropped 2 of the last 3. Carson Beck, 6 interceptions in those 2 losses, 9 interceptions leading the country right now. But you're telling me that Miami is the 18th best team in the country? You think Vanderbilt? Obviously, Louisville's better because they beat them. Like, you think Virginia? You think Utah? Yeah, you could argue Texas and Oklahoma, but it's like, that's the only problems I have. I think the College Football Playoff Committee mostly got it right. I don't agree with Notre Dame at 10. I don't agree with Georgia Tech at 17 or Miami at 18. I would argue that you could probably flop Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech and Miami are better football teams than Notre Dame. Truly. That's where my only gripe comes in for the college football playoff rankings. But it's going to be great to see. It's going to be great to predict. I know Alan and I, when we were doing the AA last year, we actually took the bracket every week and played it out to see who could be the winner. I might end up doing that on Friday's show. Like, hey, as of this bracket this week, this is who I think can win the national championship. I think it'll be a great thing for us to stay tapped in with on the pod and for you guys just, stay up to date on as well. My New Orleans Saints were embarrassed by the Los Angeles Rams 34-10 in Tyler Shough's NFL debut in the regular season anyways. As a rookie, his first start, rather, obviously he debuted, against the Bucks. But it's hard to get a read on Tyler Shough right now. 3 straight 3-and-outs to start the game against the Rams. No real play development until the middle of the second quarter when we started mixing up formations and looks and effectively running the ball and implementing Taysom Hill. But this was just piss poor offensive line play for Tyler Shough. And he had to deal with Trevor Penning constantly missing his assignment, not having correct footwork, the inconsistency. Like it was all there to show you how bad the New Orleans Saints offensive line is. I mean, this was just a boring offense, just boring play calling to watch overall until you ended up getting into, the end of the second quarter, the only great drive of the game because you scored. You had a couple of other drives that you really could have converted on, but it just came up short. I mean, receivers are running routes short of the sticks. Tyler Shough's got a defender in his lap before he can even get to his back foot on his drop, before a receiver can even get out of a break. That's not how you can run consistent football plays and build a contending offense in the NFL. Multiple third and longs for our rookie quarterback. I mean, drops, stale run plays, forcing us to pass. Tyler Shough literally had his pocket collapsing, defenders in his lap. Really, this whole game before he could even get through his progressions. I did think that Tyler Shough did do a good job of keeping his head on a swivel, using his eyes well, reading the field. And he was still completing NFL level throws at times in this game. So, overall, Tyler Shough did the best that he could. He didn't elevate us. I feel like Rattler might have a little bit offensively. Yes, there's only one win. Yes, he was 0-6 last year as a starter with practice squad guys and with the bad roster that the Saints have this year. But like I said when I put out the short a couple days ago, I truly felt like Spencer Rattler still should have been the starter after this game was over. Yes, 6 turnovers in 6 quarters for Spencer Rattler. At that point, Kellen Moore made the right choice. You got to see what you have in your 40th overall pick. You never drafted a quarterback this high, really, ever outside of the infamous Archie Manning. So it wasn't politics. You had to see what you had because now you're in line for the number 1 overall pick. The Jets are clearly trying to compete with you, fire sailing at the trade deadline. But you're in contention for the number 1 overall pick. You could be picking a quarterback first next year. Kellen Moore is a rookie head coach. You chose this guy. You have to see what you have in him. So it was the right choice to start Shough. He didn't elevate the team, but he didn't necessarily hurt the team either. So it's just kind of floating in the middle, kind of like a Mendoza line. I do feel like Spencer Rattler was a little better in this offense, and the offense looked more enjoying to watch, was more productive when Spencer Rattler was under center taking the snaps as QB1. Now, Tyler Shough, again, he did the best that he could. He did the best that he could. Again, the drops, the short ran routes, and the sticks really hurt his output in the box score. He also held the ball a couple times, kind of second-guessing his abilities on some of his throws. You got to let it rip. You got to get it out of there to Shaheed. You got to get it out of there to Kamara. But, pressure will do that to you. And I'll give Tyler Shough a C+ for his NFL debut with the Saints. I think considering what he's got going on right now with the Saints and what that roster truly is, I mean, he truly did the best that he could. I believe that he did what he could do, giving that offensive line and given the play calling. But this, again, back to our Saints defense, which I talk about every week, and I'm just waiting for Brandon Staley to get fired at this point. The Saints defense is not good in the secondary. We don't get to the quarterback enough. The zones get cut up. We're lazy with tackling. It didn't take long for this game to feel like the Seahawks game, to feel like the Bucs game. Just utter domination from the opposing team, genuinely. Now, thankfully, Kellen Moore started to open up the offense at the end of the second quarter. He had a downfield shot to Rashid Shaheed, but he stopped running. I mean, that's a 40-yard completion, if I remember the tape correctly, if I'm trying to remember the yard markers here correctly. But that is a big-time completion. You're inside the 10. Hell, you maybe could catch the ball and walk into the end zone. Maybe break the tackle, fall into the end zone like something, but he stopped running on his route. There was a nice intermediate throw to Olave. They were running some tempo more. That did turn into the 6-play, 71-yard touchdown drive, but that was really the only excitement that this game brought for the Saints. The Saints now have 10 turnovers in the last 3 games. The Saints possessed the ball for 16 minutes and 7 seconds in this game. Los Angeles literally held the ball for 3/4 of an hour, 45 minutes. That was the 13th worst in NFL history. There were only 12 teams now in NFL history that had a worse time of possession than the 2025 New Orleans Saints. The Saints ran 40 offensive plays to the Rams 77. They basically doubled you up in plays ran and tripled you up in time of possession, and you lost the turnover battle. The Rams had 30-plus first downs. The defense is not good. It's not good. The 40 offensive plays that the Saints ran is the second lowest in New Orleans Saints history. You got to be kidding me. That is coming directly from our head coach. That is our offense not staying on the field. I mean, 3 straight 3-and-outs. You look at how the game started. Run play, boom, no gain. Run play again, boom, no gain. Now you are forcing your rookie quarterback 3 snaps into his first start, 3rd and passing situation on the road against a solid team in the Rams who are very, very well coached. Let's say that. I mean, Jared Verse and Braden Fisk were just not making it easy for New Orleans in this game at all. And they shouldn't have. They really shouldn't have. I'm torn on Kellen Moore as the New Orleans Saints head coach right now. And I told Saints fans to be wary of Kellen Moore coming in. I knew it was going to be rough due to the roster and you know what he did versus what he did in Philadelphia. Like he had a super team over there. We've already established that. But his play calling is becoming questionable. He isn't aggressive when he needs to be on money downs when we're trailing. Like, you have one win. Why are you punting it on 4th and 1? Go for that. Be aggressive. Show the world that you have nothing to lose because you don't. You don't. But Kellen Moore is becoming a bit of a head scratcher as we get into the season. I get it. He's a rookie head coach. He's 9 games in. But I think he's giving us an average coaching effort right now. All things considered, maybe you can hype it up. A few weeks ago, I said he was coaching his ass off, which, like, he really is trying to, right, with everything considered. Your general manager, your salary cap situation, your roster. But it's just a C coaching effort. Like, it's just average right now. The players' discipline overall, the penalties, the way we look like we're not even competent enough to play football when we go on the road, the preparedness level for road games are atrocious. And Kellen Moore, I think, is a top 5 word salad giver when he's behind the microphone speaking to the media or at the press or on the sidelines, whatever it is. Like, very commonplace words, very basic stuff. We got to execute better. We got to do better. We got to put no shit, Kellen Moore. No shit that we have to be better, that we have to put ourselves in better positions. We have to execute better. Like, that's how you become a good football team. Stop telling the fans things that we already know that we can see from 400 miles away watching in Georgia like I am. 1,200, maybe 2,000 miles away. I don't know how far LA is from Georgia. I know it's far. It's on the West Coast. Like, stop telling us things that we can clearly see on the broadcast. We don't even have to watch all 22 film. Hell, we don't even got to watch the games. We can just watch the outcomes and watch the moves that you're making in the front office. I'm really, like, talking to Mickey Loomis here now, right? But, like, drafting Tyler Shough over Dylan Gabriel, yes, I said it. Over Shedeur Sanders, yes, I said it. Like, you could have taken Jackson Dart at 9. Like, genuinely. Did the Saints need offensive line help? Yes, absolutely. Especially with Ryan Ramczyk being gone. The weakness in Trevor Penning. You're trying to build on Taliesin Fuaga, hoping that Eric McCoy can be solid, but again, a season-ending injury. Coming off of a season-ending injury last year, now he's in another one. So, like, I understood the pick at 9 because it's what the Saints do. They spend first-round picks on offensive linemen. Before Penning got traded, you had 4 of them on your offensive line, and your offensive line sucked. Fuaga's solid, but now he's day-to-day with an injury. Kelvin Banks, probably a franchise tackle, praying that he can be. But Kellen Moore has already had an opportunity to make a solid impression through 9 games of the season, and we just don't see it. And now we're up against the Panthers, who are a solid football team. Rico Dowdle is snapping. They might run for 200 yards on us. It's tough to be a Saints fan right now. Like, we know that. We've understood that. But it doesn't get easier as the weeks go on. But you cannot take the who dat out of who dat nation. You cannot take the NOLA out of the New Orleans Saints. We're going to be here. We're going to watch it. We're going to get through it. Kind of hoping we have the number 1 overall pick. So if there's someone that just really is like, wow, we got to take him, we take him. If not, we trade it back for like 3 first-rounders. Now, do I trust this franchise, as I've said multiple times, to make the right picks? Absolutely not. But I also understand that the more picks you have, the better potential that you have to win football games and to build your roster back up to, to what you want it to be. Georgia squeaks by Florida, you can say 24-20 in one of the best SEC rivalries of all time, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And the Georgia Bulldogs started fast again. That's what I love to see. That is what I love to see. We did it against Ole Miss, and now we're doing it against Florida. The offense is starting to click and be faster at the right times in the season. 5 minutes in, and you got a beautiful touchdown drive already completed. You open the second half with another touchdown drive. I love seeing Zachariah Branch in this Georgia offense every single week get more involved and get better because he is our best offensive player. And when the ball is in number one's hands, it's undeniable. And I love Gunnar Stockton, man. Like, that's my freaking quarterback right there, bro. That interception in this game was not on him, clearly, but like Gunnar Stockton, that is my quarterback. That is my guy. And I truly believe that Georgia, within the next year or so, can go far with him. If not this year, I believe the defense is going to be the reason why we don't. And if we continue to not start fast like we have in the last 2 wins, you won't win the national championship or even get there either. Like, maybe you could get there, right? But winning it, I don't know. But I do believe that Gunnar Stockton truly has the opportunity to be what Stetson Bennett was. Not a back-to-back champion, but a guy who can have you competing and wears his heart on his sleeve and has the ultimate grit of the Georgia quarterback. Georgia's secondary, again, torched all season long. Trey Wilson was cooking us in this game. I mean, he had 4 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown in the first quarter. But we tightened up because he finished with 5 catches for 41 yards and no touchdowns the rest of the way. Georgia held Florida to 0 for 5 on third down in the first half, which I thought was great. But no sacks on DJ Lagway in this game. Didn't like to see that. And honestly, DJ made too many plays for my liking in this game, especially being mobile, extending the play, some big throws. You know, obviously we'll talk about the drop that I've already posted about here in a second. Like, there was a wide open touchdown pass to Trey Wilson. It was too much play extension for DJ Lagway for my liking. But I mean, Florida came to play. Anybody that wants to say that Georgia's fraudulent after this win, you don't know college football. All the haters out there that are helicoptering over Georgia right now, just waiting for their opportunity, you're lame for that. Florida is freshly off of their head coach, Billy Napier, being fired. They're trying to find a spark in DJ Lagway. It's an SEC rivalry. It's in the state of Florida, although it's a neutral site. Big time game every year. Yes, Georgia has won the better part of the matchups, but it's like y'all act like Florida didn't come to play. It was tied 10-10 at the half. It was tied 17-17 with a 12-play, 80-yard, 7+ minute drive in the third quarter that Florida engineered. They took the lead in the fourth quarter via field goal, and it took Georgia until the last drive to really put it away. But when we needed another touchdown drive, it was there. When we needed Chauncey Bowens to show up and deliver, it was there. And he gave us the touchdown drive. He gave us the first down on the 3rd and 7 run in the fourth quarter to close it out. The 36-yard touchdown run to take the lead 24-20. Chauncey Bowens needs to be RB1 for the rest of the year. I don't want to hear it from the haters about this close win. I don't, because Florida is a tough team to play, and we have seen it all year. Yeah, they were bad for a minute, but it's not about how you start. It's about how you adjust it. It's about how you finish. It's just like in life. It's not what happens. It's how you react. And I think Florida is doing a decent job right now at reacting to their circumstances and situation. A team that has their coach fired is always going to come out and play tough. Like, that's what you expect. Like, okay, we just lost our leader. Let's go out and play our asses off for our new leader. Let's give some sort of energy and juice into this ball club. And that's what Florida came to do. And Georgia, them cardiac kids, man. Cardiac kids. As Kirby Smart said, Georgia won't be stopped. Georgia will play an amazing second half, and you have to be able to hang with them when they make insane halftime adjustments and come out playing well in the third and fourth quarter. I'm still waiting to see maybe an entire 4 quarters of solid Georgia football. I guess you could say in the Ole Miss games kind of what you got there because you didn't start slow and you had to win a shootout. But it's like all these other games outside of the, piss poor matchups against Marshall and Austin Peay, like, Georgia's got to play tapped in. They have to play a full 4 quarters. But Georgia is one of the best second half teams. Georgia is the best second half team in college football right now. Georgia is the best comeback team in college football right now, and there is no question about that. Look at the season. Look at what Kirby Smart's been able to do time over time again with comeback after comeback after comeback. let's talk about the SEC officiating garbage in this game as we have more of it, right? The false start on Georgia due to Gunner's hard count was absolutely hilarious. I'd never even heard of something called like that before. The fumble that Georgia got bailed out on when Gunner's arm was moving forward, I thought that was a fumble. I truly did. Because it kind of starts to twist around. The ball starts to twist, but I guess with the hand coming forward, like you can say it was a push forward pass. I think that call went in Georgia's favor, and I'll come forward and tell you that. DJ Lagway's fumble that wasn't according to the refs in the middle of the fourth quarter. Like I thought when he was stretching out, that ball kind of came loose from the end of his fingers before he hit the ground, and then it kind of popped out when it hit the ground. I know the ground can't cause you to fumble, but it definitely looked like a fumble as they were replaying it. And then the catch/no catch on the bounced ball, whatever you want to say, I think it was incomplete. And I do think the ball did bounce. I think a part of it in between his forearms hit the ground, and that's why they called it incomplete. That is why they called it incomplete. DJ Lagway threw DJ Lagway almost threw a horrible interception to our bottom tier defensive back in Ellis Robinson, who would have housed it had he caught it because he was staring down Trey Wilson. But Florida fans want to come out here and say, AJ, it was a catch. It was a catch. Oh, it was taken from us. We were cheated. We were robbed. You had plenty of other opportunities in that game to win, Florida. You did. Take a look at DJ Lagway's box score. Take a look at the final stats from this game. And it will show you that Florida had opportunities to put Georgia away, and they didn't because the momentum was starting to swing Florida's way some. It was. But don't sit here and tell me that one play is the reason why you were not able to pull it off, because we could have bitched and complained about the false start. We could have complained about what I thought was a DJ Lagway fumble. And then you had, the fumble that Georgia got bailed out on, and then the catch that no catch. So there was really two rough calls on each side. So what? I guess they cancel out. But yes, that's how you have to look at it. Again, we are in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. Ever since really 2018, 2019, you cannot play to the mercy of the referees in a tight ball game. We know that it's suspect. We just saw the SEC suspend a referee. You cannot play down to the level of refs and have them try to bail you out or point at a play and say that's why we lost. We've seen Auburn try to do it. We saw the Saints try to do it back in 2018 with the no call. And now we're seeing it in this game with Georgia and Florida. It sucks, Gator fans. I know it does. I know it sucks. But there's a reason that Billy Napier got fired. There's a reason DJ Lagway is not a good quarterback. Yeah, he's looked solid against Georgia, and he looked like a beast against Texas when Florida was able to pull that off. But I'm not going to sit here and take that bogus. I'm not going to sit here and take that from Florida Gator fans saying that one play was the reason why they weren't able to pull it off. Going to get into a new segment here on NFL with AJL called Engage 8. If you've ever played Madden, you know exactly what play I'm talking about. 8 guys straight to the ball. The way I think of it is you're getting there quickly, so we're having some quick takes. Not going to be breaking these games down as much in depth, but just some takes that I had in general, not as in depth as the Saints game, not as in depth as the Georgia game that we just did. Y'all know those are my two teams, but a couple of NFL games here and then a college game before we get out. Again, just some quick takes here on Engage 8 on NFL with AJL. The Chiefs fall to the Bills 28-21 in Buffalo. Everyone's talking about how the Bills beat the Chiefs yet again in the regular season. But when does this translate to the postseason for Josh Allen against Kansas City? Because Patrick Mahomes played one of his worst games of his career. He was down 28-13. He had no passing touchdowns. That's the first time that's happened in over a year. And that's only the 10th time it's happened in 142 career games played for Patrick Mahomes, regular and postseason. And it was the first time ever in his career that he completed under 50% of his passes. He completed 44% of his throws. He was 15 for 34 in this game. And the Chiefs still only lost by 7. And it took until a Hail Mary on the last play of the game to really put it away. Buffalo almost blew this. You intercept Mahomes with about 4 minutes to go. You make Kansas City burn all of their timeouts. And then you horribly doink a field goal that I swear it was the doink heard around the world to put you up by 10. You left the door open with 22 seconds, only 9 more than the 13-second mishap that happened years ago for Patrick Mahomes and company to make a comeback. I mean, every Bills fan in there was, when it finally was a win for them. I mean, you saw Josh Allen. You could feel it in that stadium. They had been there before in this position, not able to capitalize and move forward more. You throw an interception on Mahomes, and the Chiefs almost had this one come back. The Chiefs were almost able to get back in this football game. So everybody wants to talk about how the Bills were able to finally beat the Chiefs, but nobody wants to talk about how they almost blew it and how Patrick Mahomes had to play arguably the worst game of his NFL career next to when he played in the Super Bowl against Brady because he had no offensive line. But we want to sit here and pump up the 28-21 win. We got to watch the games, y'all. We got to watch the context. We have to understand that there is a why to how these NFL games play out. I'm not impressed with the win from the Bills. Frankly, I'm not. You should have won going away based on how this game was playing out. I mean, they were down. They were up 28-13 at home and allowed a score and a 2-point conversion and for them to get the ball back. Yes, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish, but I didn't like the way that the Bills finished this game. I didn't. The Steelers are able to handle the Colts and hand them their second loss of the NFL season. And I think we got to start taking the Pittsburgh Steelers seriously after this win over the Colts. The Steelers held the Colts to 7 points until 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and their only touchdown before that was halfway through the fourth quarter. Speaking of the Colts were the best offense in the NFL coming into this game, and they turned the ball over 6 times. Daniel Jones threw 3 picks. He fumbled it 2 more times. Jonathan Taylor was held to a very pedestrian output in this game. And you have to give massive, massive hats off to the Pittsburgh Steelers because they're coming off a disastrous week 7 and 8 on defense. And they largely dominated the top offense in the NFL in a home win over a team that had the best record in the league and literally had the top offense in the league. I mean, they literally have an MVP candidate in Jonathan Taylor, who I think should be in the running for sure. I think the MVP odds are crazy out of whack right now. We'll talk about that on Friday's show, episode 127, or I guess Saturday when you get the pod. But Jonathan Taylor was held to 14 carries for 45 yards. Again, Daniel Jones just looked horrible. The Steelers literally factory reset Daniel Jones. Like, that's what it felt like in this game. We saw his big eyes. We've seen the memes of like what he looked like when he was with the Giants, and it looks rough. And this is after a couple weeks of just kind of questionable things happening with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a little bit of doom and gloom over there in Pittsburgh. But, Aaron Rodgers did what he had to do. This Steelers defense did what they had to do. Mike Tomlin caught a solid game. And this was big for Mike Tomlin to kind of outcoach Shane Steichen. I mean, we have all these stories about the Colts and how their owner is on the sideline taking notes, which I think is phenomenal. Like, she is setting the standard for how NFL owners should be tapped into their teams. I'm not saying everybody should be on the sideline with a pencil, writing notes, listening on the headset, but it's setting a damn good example because we have a lot of go by the wayside owners and GMs in this league. And the Colts owner, who inherited a monstrosity from her father, Jim Irsay, could just lay back and let it happen, right? She could just sit back just like this and just let it happen. Yeah, that's all right. I'm a billionaire. Not even self-made. No shot to Carly Ursay Gordon. But she inherited the team from her father. But though she's sitting up like this, she's putting that headset on, she's taking notes on the sideline, and the Steelers were able to trump all of that. I'm not saying that is a big reason for their win, but when you have the Colts in the headlines the way that they have been, best record in the league, best offense in the league, Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor and MVP and Offensive Player of the Year conversations, is a big win for the Steelers. And I think we have to take the Steelers more serious after this dominating win because their defense was able to force 6 turnovers. And you handled the Indianapolis Colts for like 50 minutes of this game. So hats off to them. Genuinely, hats off to them. The Atlanta Falcons fall to the New England Patriots 24-23 in Foxborough. And the Atlanta Falcons need to clean house. The Atlanta Falcons need to fire their head coach and their offensive coordinator like yesterday. This is way too much talent. Michael Penix, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. That defense that Atlanta is fielding right now is solid. And I'm not even looking at the defensive side of the ball. I'm looking at head coaching and I'm looking at offensive play calling because week after week after week, it gets worse for Atlanta. Do you know how many NFL teams, hell, do you know how many Saints fans right now would kill to have a roster constructed like the Falcons do? The Falcons have a top roster in the league on both sides of the ball. I mean, missing the extra point was such Falcons fashion after mounting a comeback against the Patriots. Genuinely. The defense had 6 sacks on Drake May, who was stupidly an MVP candidate. Yes, I said it. And they were +2 in the turnover battle, and they still lost this game. The play calling is getting worse as the season goes on. And the unpreparedness from week to week is blasphemous. The Falcons should have cleaned house after Tua with one eye came in and diced him up. One of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the worst teams in the NFL, one of the worst offenses in the NFL embarrassed you at home. Like, how do you almost mount a comeback on the Patriots? You really should have tied it. How do you beat the Bills and then you lose to the Dolphins? And you get blanked 30-0 by the Panthers. Clearly, there were a lot of turnovers in that game, but the Atlanta Falcons are one of the most confusing teams in the NFL right now. I rescind my Super Bowl dark horse take. I still think Michael Penix is a franchise quarterback. I still think the Atlanta Falcons are a solid to good football team, but they don't got the right coach. And they were silly for bringing Raheem Morris back. I get it. In-house hire, nice guy. Like, you want to see what he's made of, but I never liked the hire. I thought there were a lot more well-qualified candidates. Like, I'm pretty sure you brought Mike Vrabel into the building, and you weren't able to get him. Like, you had Mike Vrabel. You had Ben Johnson. You had, I literally just had that other coach's name in my head. Oh, Harbaugh. Like, you had multiple coaches in that coaching cycle, carousel, whatever you want to call it, to bring a reputable head coach into Atlanta. Atlanta needs an aggressive play caller. They need a Cliff Kingsbury at OC. They need a Mike McDaniel at OC. Hell, they need a Dan Campbell type of coach with that roster. They just need somebody who's competent, who knows how to call a ball game and get a group of grown men in the National Football League prepared for a game. Miami falls to SMU, losing 2 of their last 3 games, and Miami fans are seeing what Carson Beck is truly made of in close, high-stakes games, because Carson Beck leads the nation in interceptions right now. He wasn't good in the Florida game. He wasn't good in the Louisville game. And now in the SMU game, I mean, throwing in that interception that Carson Beck threw to lose the SMU game was atrocious. You walk up and hand it to him. I mean, place it in his hands, essentially. That's what you did. You threw it right to the defender. And the 4 picks that they threw in the Louisville game, like, don't even get me started in that, because now Carson Beck is on a roll, on a tear with turnovers and interceptions like he was at Georgia. He now has 6 INTs in his last 3 games, 9 interceptions on the year. Georgia fans just sitting back after Carson Beck with the way Carson Beck's playing, like, we love it. We knew what we were getting out of town. I was excited for Gunnar Stockton when he came in, and now you're getting the result of it. Now you are understanding what Carson Beck is in high-stakes games when it matters. And again, we're just sitting here. Y'all good over there? You can have him, Miami. You can have him. We don't want him. Keep him. Send him to the draft, please. Because I don't believe that Carson Beck is a franchise quarterback. I don't believe he's going to translate to the NFL. I don't know if this guy's even a day 2 pick. I'm just calling it what it is. In high-stakes situations, when you ask Carson Beck to win you the game with his arm, he cannot and he will not do it. Has he maybe done it before? Yes, but is it consistent? No. Is he a great quarterback? No. And you literally get to play in your home state of Florida, being in Miami. And like, you don't have to leave for the first month and a half. And the moment you do, L. Now, I don't want to like overblow the SMU loss because everyone's talking about Rhett Lashley and what he's been able to do. So, like, if we can put SMU's head coach in, oh, he should go get the Florida job, he should go get the LSU, the Auburn job, then why can we not, I guess, dumb down the loss for Miami a bit? Because it did have to go to overtime. And yes, Carson Beck did throw that interception in overtime. But like, Miami's offense went quiet. And their defense gave up a, like, I think a season high 375 passing yards. I want to check on that real quick, honestly. Give me 1 second. Let's see here. Yeah, they gave up 365 passing yards. It's the most they've given up all season. And their offense scored, I believe, a season low 20 points. Yeah, when you take a look back at this, 26, 42, 21, 28, 26, 49, 45, 27. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Miami came out and they laid an egg. Miami didn't look good in this one. But again, like, Miami fans, y'all got it. You can have Carson Beck. We'd love to let you have. That's going to wrap up episode 126 of the NFL with AJL. I appreciate y'all taking the time because you could have been on any other sports podcast out there, but you were right here tapped in on the full show, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on podcast platforms, Spotify or Apple. We greatly appreciate y'all. Please leave us a review on podcast platforms. Make sure to like and share that show wherever you may be watching or listening. Subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell, follow us on all social media platforms, mainly Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. The link tree down in the description at NFL with AJL on all social media platforms. That link tree down there is every bit of content that we put out. If you can't find us, I promise you're simply not looking hard enough. And as always, before we get out of here, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for episode 126 of the NFL with AJL, and thank you for the great vacation that Taylor and I just came off of, for all the celebrations we were able to have. Thank you for the audience, Lord, for the preparation, for the opportunity to truly do this in the comfort of my own home, talk about the teams that I love, and give to the audience what they deserve. As always, Lord, I ask you to be with anybody who's hearing this prayer right now, anyone in the world who needs to see you, Lord. Reveal yourselves to them, send them a sign, because those are the people, God, that need you most right now in their lives, to realize your plan, to realize the path that they're walking in might not be theirs, but if it's yours, they know that they can feel safe at home. Anyone that's listening, Lord, I really ask you to be with them if they need you right now, and just be with them in general, because we know we always need God. In Jesus' name, everybody prayed on episode 126. Amen. I love y'all. I need y'all, and I will see you guys, as always, in the next one.